A climate service is a center or an institution or a body that produces climate services. Where with climate services we mean all those activities that include production, translation and transmission of climate-related information to stakeholders and final users in order to improve their decision-making processes and in order to improve their climate-smart policy and planning. This sort of information is especially required now that we know that our climate is changing, and so people who have to take decision or have to make planning for the future have to include in their evaluation also the information related to the climate change, and also the information connected with the problems that climate change and more generally climate variability imply. And so the climate services are all those activities that provide the information and make available the information in timely and in the right form, so that it can be efficiently and effectively used in these decision-making processes.
CLIM-RUN is the real first European project on climate services. Climate local information over the Mediterranean to respond to user needs. It is a consortium of about 17 partners around the Mediterranean, from the northern part and the southern part. The main aims of CLIM-RUN is to bridging the gap between users and climate science. There are several needs in the society. For instance, do you want to plan a new renewable energy plant or a wind farm? Do you need clear, well-detailed information on the next 10 to 20 years of the wind in the specific region? So the development of this product is one of the main aims of CLIM-RUN. CLIM-RUN is focusing on 4 main areas: tourism, renewable energy, coastal areas, and disaster risk reduction. We developed several workshops around the Mediterranean to interact with users and to produce new science-based knowledge to respond their needs in these 4 main areas.
Well, CLIM-RUN is a project in which by nature we have to interact with stakeholders, and we have to simulate how could future climate services work. So it means that for each case studies, for each topic, we had to select a number of people that we would interact with. So for each case study, energy, tourism, integrated case studies, forest fires, we first did a stakeholder analysis, an institutional analysis, and a mapping of stakeholders. And from this, we proposed to some of them or we invited some of them to some workshops, or we developed some face-to-face interviews. So we had that kind of institutional analysis, and from this, a sampling method was to select a subset of stakeholders. And of course, the key criteria is that we needed some motivated people to work with us. There was a diversity of methods, and that's also the richness of the project, that each team experience different ways to interact with stakeholders. Some send some online surveys, some develop some face-to-face qualitative interviews, which take a lot of time. All case studies had to organize some workshops, some stakeholder workshops, so as to consult potential users about their needs, and then so as to present some of the results of the project, so as to collect their feedback. The lessons learned is that for such a technical issues, because climate services is a very technical issues, sending to a large panel of stakeholders an online service doesn't work well. So you have to spend time, you have to meet people at their office or during their professional event, and not to invite them at your event, but you have to move towards in that direction and to learn how to use their words so as to consult them about what they need and what they would like in terms of climate services.
Within CLIM-RUN, we decided to experience a true bottom-up approach to produce new climate informations or climate products. It means that we started from really well-identified stakeholder needs in terms of new climate informations. And then we try to classify those requests, those needs, in terms of what is feasible within the project, what is impossible, what is easy to do, and what required really new developments, research developments. And we started from those points to develop the new climate information. In CLIM-RUN, what was very important for the climate team was to be able to count on a very wide range of skills. So we had some specialists of the past climate variability, some specialists of seasonal or decadal forecast, and some specialists of long-term climate projection, regional climate projection, using statistical tools or dynamical regional climate models. Finally, in CLIM-RUN, we produced between 30 and 40 climate information sheets, we call them, which are really the finalized product tailored for the stakeholder use and stakeholder needs. From this product, I can extract just some example to give you an idea of what we produced. One of the requests from stakeholders was the fact to have a very good view of the wind field in the Mediterranean area in order to plan new power plants based on the wind energy. So for that, we developed a wind atlas, which is now available through the web, in which any stakeholder can come, pick any location you want to use as a possible new power plant, and then know the wind field in terms of frequency and in terms of strength. We also developed a climate information sheet on the future projection of those kind of fields in order to know in advance what are the possible wind field that will be here in 10 years, 20 years or 30 years, and we include also the uncertainty issue in order to know what is expected. Within CLIM-RUN, one of the needs that was identified was on the solar surface radiation. The stakeholder needs to know the map of the solar radiation that reaches the surface in order to plan new power plants. In the Mediterranean, the fluctuations of the solar energy depend mainly on two things: the clouds, that is variable in time and in space, and also the aerosols, that are small particles coming from the Sahara mostly, and we call them Saharan dust. So in order to provide the new surface field for solar energy, we develop a new climate tools that include the solar energy and radiation, the cloud cover, and also, which is completely new, the Saharan dust. So we were able to run new simulations in order to take into account the interaction of between clouds, radiation, and aerosols.
In CLIM-RUN, we learned a huge amount from our case studies, which focused on different sectors, different economic sectors, such as tourism and renewable energy, and were focused on particular regions, for example, the Venice-Veneto region. And from these case studies, we learned about the kinds of information that users need, but also, very importantly, how they're going to use that information, so how the information fits in with their decision-making structures. And I think that was really important to us to understand that part of the whole process. I think what's really key to going forward in developing climate services are two underlying things, collaboration and communication. Of course, good science is also important, so we need to improve our models and our observations. But without communication between all the different players involved in climate services, I don't think we'll be able to deliver really useful and usable information. So by communication, I mean both the language we use, not just whether or not a workshop is held in Italian, but the level of technical detail that's used, that has to be got right. Also visual language, how we present our graphs and our figures, is really important. And it's really important to get the right people involved in this collaborative process. We need climate scientists, we need people who understand the different economic sectors, people who are expert in decision making. But I think what CLIM-RUN has demonstrated is that absolutely we need to involve the users of climate services so that in the end we produce something that is actually useful and usable to people out there in the real world.